Walking Stick Library presents Skies Over Lubbock, Texas, Part 1, with your librarian hostess with the mostest, Eileen Kramer. And don't forget, you can catch this stream live on Twitch.
Amy Seaver put something up that was interesting, and we cover contrails on this show quite a bit because some people call them chemtrails. They're contrails, condensation trails. And again, we don't like air pollution. Air pollution's a thing, just like we don't like defined artificial flavor in the Jell-O, or if we buy hamburger, we want it to be beef, not horse meat. Now, if you want horse meat, you get horse meat from the horse meat butcher if you can get it. You can't in this country, but there are parts of the world where you could go to the Boucherie au Cheval and get your ground horse meat if that's what you want. And if you want insect in your meat, as long as they tell you it's there, why are you going to complain? You afraid somebody's going to slip it to you? That's another story. I have my own little bugaboos about people slipping me stuff, but that's a different night. You have a right, you should, if you're an intelligent person, be concerned about air pollution. So Amy Seaver is on the right track. Where she goes off the right track is geoengineering. We have done some shows on it, and it's up in the stratosphere, way above where planes leave contrails. And it also doesn't leave stripes and streaks. But airports are not good news. They're not fun to live near. And planes do pollute. So let me get her stuff while I'm gibbering here. Gibber, 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 gibber. She's on Rumble. And it was Monday's show. And we're looking at Monday. This was her coat. And I'm going to find this.
Jesus Christ is the Savior.
I'm going to walk through this. Okay, I want to freeze this here to get where she is. Okay. We're going to want this. Okay. I'm going to see if I can find the picture of what she had. I don't think I got this far earlier. So I'm going to walk through this and see if I can find her picture. I'm sorry if I'm stalling on you guys, but okay, I saw this, and this came after the kids. Okay. Not my favorite picture. Let me max this for a moment and I'll hunt for it. Okay, that's what I wanted. Okay, we'll come back in here and I will let her do her thing. Okay. We're going to do this a little differently than we've done it other times, because I have done the geoengineering show and I could refer her to it. And it's actually up there and it explains why these are not. I'm a big fan of geoengineering, and there is a company out there called Make Sunsets that is doing it. And I hope they're okay against the EPA. The EPA is harassing them currently, and they have 30 days to respond. We will do a show on them when they respond, which will be mid to late May. We will get a show on Make Sunsets, because they're actually doing it, and that's a big update. And they're doing it on a very big scale, and how they do it is very, very different from what she is describing. That's good to know, but we're not doing them tonight. Okay, I'm gonna open my curtain again for everybody here, and I'm gonna minimize, and we're gonna let you take it away, girl.
Y'all know we are in West Texas. We woke up this morning and Steve took this video. What? So we will have cloudy, cold weather tomorrow, and the whole 9 yards. And I tell you, I put a Facebook post out. I said, how many of us, we the people, have had enough of this? So we just need to start flooding wherever you live your congressman, because it's got to stop.
That's contrails, folks. And we didn't have any this morning here in Atlanta, but I think our weather isn't set up for them. We're going to do a couple things. I have her address already, which is good. I'm going to open that up on a different screen. Okay. That's not what I want. Okay. This is roughly where she lives and does business. I don't really care. She published it. This is where Amy Seaver does business. She has a redeemed boutique. Has a little boutique, and the money goes to an organization when she finds one that helps traffic victims. I could suggest a couple. For some reason, she doesn't like them, or she'd be doing it already. Okay. And we know she's skittish about chemtrails. Now, I got a couple of first of all, this isn't what you need to be scared about. Contrails do have particulate matter in them. Make sure I'm open for everybody to see. Contrails do have particulate matter in them, which is not good. So that's one thing. And remember, we're all scared of being poisoned. I get it. But these are not geoengineering, and they are not weather control. And what we're going to do is pop this out. Okay, that is what we're dealing with. Now, you don't get contrails all the time. That's one thing I want to know, that she might want to know. She says the weather's going to get cold and cloudy afterwards. The next day she thinks it's weather engineering. I think there is a weather correlation. She's just good and observant. Thank you, Amy Seaver. You're just good and observant. Another thing. Yeah, particulate matter, which is nasty in and of itself. It is a nasty. We're not going to do jet fuel tonight. Then there is what you don't see. And that is not contrails. That's this guy over here, because it has yeah. We're going to look at both sides of this. And I don't know if we're going to get to this side of it all that much. We may do a continuation tomorrow. Avgas is used in piston aircraft, also called prop planes. Yeah. Do you have a general aviation airport near you, Amy? That's something I would be very concerned about. And I would also be very concerned about where to get your soil tested for lead. West Texas. And I would also be concerned about air quality in West Texas. So we're going to try to solve some of your problems tonight. Not all of them, Amy, but a lot of them. We're going to be looking at the particulate matter and the lead. I'm for geoengineering. I think we should do something about climate change and human ingenuity. I'm a big fan of what human ingenuity can do. Amy, you may consider yourself a minister, and you are one. Forget consider yourself. I don't consider myself a rabbi because you have to be ordained, and I don't have the background. But you are a minister. God gave human beings wisdom to fix things and build things and dig their way and climb out of the holes they dig. If we could get and it's April, you want the climate to cool off for a day or two, you probably need rain. One more thing here while I'm remembering. You may need the rain. Okay, we can go in two directions. For some reason, I like to go to the right first. Let me get us back to 100% and get my black pen. I always draw an arrow when I want a black pen. And we go back to here. And we push over, and we're going to do a very quick, dirty Web of Science search. No, I don't want that. I want these guys. Whoop. Boop. And whoop. Boop. And we're going to look for particulate. That means particles. That means soot, dirt, schmutz. And we're going to look at jet exhaust. Not just contrails, because you only see contrails at a certain time. Are you getting sooty? Is it getting sooty there in West Texas? We want to know if it's getting sooty in West Texas. We sure as hell want to know if it's getting sooty in West Texas. So we're going to check to see if it's getting sooty in West Texas. So we are going to need, I'm going to set up GSU library again. Here we are. I'm going to stay out of the big box and go to Web of Science. I like my science hardcore. We could also go to Medline, but I'm going to go to Web of Science. So I'm going to scroll down here to the alphabet and pick a W. You may, and we can check for this, have access to the same stuff I've got, Amy. And I'm talking to you as if you were here. You may have access to the same stuff I've got, which is really good. I don't know what the visitor policy at the University of West Texas in Lubbock is, but I know you have a state university. And often the states out west are really generous. We can check to see if you have access to what I'm doing right now, because I think you do. And you could walk home with a flash drive full of articles if you chose it to. Now this is Web of Science. We want to add a row. The and is in the middle. And our topic is particulate. And over here we have jet exhaust. And let's search. And I've got 12 documents. Not pretty. This is 2011, full texted publisher. Jet exhaust particles after human dendritic cell maturation. Let's have a look-see. Among combustion-derived air pollutants is little is known about jet kerosene characteristics and effects. Particles yielded by experimental kerosene combustion in a jet engine were characterized with electron microscopy and X-ray energy dispersive spectroscopy, immature human monocyte-derived dendritic cells, which they get from a scrape, probably a tissue scrape, were exposed for 18 hours to 10, 25, and 100 micrograms of jet exhaust particles and or Escherichia-derived, E. coli-derived endotoxin, androgen-presenting co-stimulation molecules, tumor necrosis factor, interleukin-10 were measured. And what is a monocyte? A type of white blood cell involved. So they used some immature white blood cells and tested them. The primary particles of jet exhaust are spherical, 9.9 nanometers, carbonaceous, and exert an adjuvant effect on human monocyte-derived dendritic cell maturation in vitro. Concomitant particle endotoxin stimulation induced high cytokine production with low antigen presenting particle contact prior to endotoxin contact led to an opposite phenotype. Finally, low cytokine production and high co-stimulation molecules were present when particle adjunction followed endotoxin contact. So, not happy things. Let's change this from jet exhaust to jet fuel. See if we do better. We got 240. Okay. This is not great. I'm going to change databases, and the reason is we're looking for health effects. So we're going to go do our Medline-y goodness. We're going to go do some Medline-y goodness. And we want to look for jet exhaust and particulate. I have 3. That's our first one. Air pollution in airport apron workers in neglected occupational setting. Human environmental dangers posed by ongoing tropospheric aerosolized particulates for weather modification. This is 2016. And U.S. military perception of nuclear warfare has led to countless unethical nuclear experiments performed on unsettling individuals. This isn't what we're looking at. We can try jet fuel instead. Effective collection methods on combustion particle physicochemical properties and their biological response in a human macrophage-like cell line. View at publisher website. I'm looking at dates. You always look at dates. Size. This is 15 pages. That's not bad. Let's have a look. Okay, we got a freebie. Ooh, access through my institution. Sign in with Open Athens. Let's go in. And we can get the PDF even, which is a lot easier to read, but in vitro studies are a first step toward understanding the biological effects of combustion-derived particulate matter. A vast majority of studies expose cells to CDPM suspensions, which requires a method to collect CDPM and suspend it in an aqueous media. Remember, cells live in water. The consequences of different particle collection methods on particle physiochemical properties and resulting biological responses are not fully understood. This study investigated the two common approaches, collection on a filter and a cold plate, and one relatively new, direct bubbling into DI water approach to particle collection. The three approaches yielded combustion-derived particulate matter with differences in particle size distribution, surface area composition, and oxidative potential. Okay, I'm going back. Okay. I'm seeing a lot of other stuff. I am thinking we may just want to do aircraft, airplanes. We can try a bunch of these. Okay, increased impacts of aircraft activities on particulate matter concentrations in human health in China, 2024. Bingo! The target just went tick, 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 tick. That's our target. And the rapid development of China's aviation industry has caused a rapid increase in airport PM 2.5 emissions. This study uses global exposure mortality model to evaluate monthly deaths caused by aircraft activities at 164 airports in China from 2015 to 2023, based on PM 2.5 concentrations of aircraft activities and the detection data from the China National Environmental Monitoring Center, including 20 age groups, 6 diseases, and gender. This paper presents 3 main conclusions. Firstly, aviation PM 2.5 emissions significantly impact mortality with notable variations by year and season. The highest cumulative deaths were recorded in 2023 in the third quarter. Wow! Toxicological evaluation of primary particulate matter emitted from the combustion of aviation fuel. Another good one. Ding, ding, ding. Human lung cells were exposed to primary particulate matter from combustion of aviation fuels. Toxicity depended on combustion technology, but did not correlate with fuel properties. Genotoxicity induced even at relatively low particulate doses. Strategies of lowering aromatic content may result in less harmful PM emissions. Yikes. Okay. Ultrafine particle levels measured on board short-haul commercial passenger jet aircraft. Preterm birth among infants exposed to in utero ultrafine particles from aircraft emissions. That's 2020. A review of health effects associated with exposure to jet engine emissions in and around airports. This is really good. Let's see how they do it. Now I'm looking at the age, 2021. And we're looking at particulate matter and aircraft. Those are what we use. And aircraft. Means mesh major, so I'm just playing. We got 26 of these. That's using a weird fuel. Increased impacts of aircraft activities. This is the one we got earlier. This is another one. This is on the ground. Ultrafine levels measured on board short-haul commercial passenger jet aircraft. Bink, 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 bink. Close the bink gate. Okay, airline crew members report adverse health effects during and after inhalation, exposure to engine oil fumes sourced to the air supply system on board commercial and military aircraft. Most investigations into the causal factors of the reported systems focus on specific chemical contaminants in the fumes. Adverse health effects reported in air crew exposed to the aircraft air supply bled unfiltered off the engine auxiliary power unit may be related particularly to exposures which are widely known to affect health. While oil contaminates the aircraft air supply, some suggest that this will only occur where there is a bearing seal failure. Others document that it is low-level oil contamination of the air supply during normal air operations. The brief pilot study explores whether particulate exposure may be associated with normal engine air supply operations, so it can happen in the planes as well. Here, and we have lots of these here. So particulates are nasty. Now, we want to come back in here, and we kind of know. We kind of know that side. I'm interested in what kind of weather makes contrails, because you don't see contrails every day of the week. We just don't. I have no idea why we don't, but we don't. And I'm going to run a dirty Google search for this, because I want just a very basic kind of definition. And that's what we're going to get if we do a very dirty Google search. This may also explain why you get cold, cloudy weather after this. And we want what's in between. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And very simple. We're going to do this on Google. The end is usually implied, but I don't like to imply it. And once we get a rough feel from Google, we can do more. Contrail and weather. Clouds and Contrails, National Weather Service. Aviation contrails and their climate effect. Clouds and contrails. Okay, let's go. Clouds and contrails. Okay, clouds form when the temperature of the air reaches the condensation point, which is the point at which vapor pressure becomes a liquid. When it reaches this point, the liquid collects on dust particles in the air and becomes visible. We call the result clouds. Unless the clouds form at the ground surface, and we call them fog. Various factors influence the exact point at which condensation can occur, such as air pressure at a given altitude, moisture content of the air, and the air temperature. In most cases, the air temperature is the most important factor. This is why I didn't see any contrails today when it was 80 degrees and somewhat humid. Clouds held a particular fascination, and a young Englishman named Luke Howard named them. Okay, so we have different kinds of clouds here. And there are heaps of cloud masses with flat bottoms and cauliflower tops. These are named cumulus, Latin for heap. Layers of clouds, much wider than they are thick, like a blanket or mattress. Layer. Wispy curls, named stratus. Clouds that are spread out are stratus, like cheese strata, which is very tasty. Wispy curls like a child's hair, which are called cirrus. And clouds generating precipitation, he gave the name nimbus for rain. Clouds are found in 3 layers in the lower atmosphere. Thus, with 4 types of clouds and 3 layers, we have up to 12 major cloud types. And we have cumulus clouds, swelling clouds, and congested cumulus clouds. Stratus, altostratus, and cirrostratus clouds, and layered heaps, stratocumulus, autocumulus, and cirrocumulus. And we have precipitating clouds. Okay, what is a contrail and how does it form? And somebody did a really cruddy job of not putting some border around this picture. To answer this question, and the way you do that is margin equals. It's a very simple piece of HTML. To answer this question, let's first identify what a contrail is. A contrail is the condensation trail that is left behind by a passing jet plane, not a prop plane that has a piston engine. Those have lead in their fuel. We'll deal with those on a different night. Contrails form when hot, humid air from the jet exhaust mixes with environmental air of low vapor pressure at low temperature. I'm going to check my chat squawk just in case. All right. I'm going to bookmark this. I'm going to read this again. Contrails form when hot, humid air from jet exhaust mixes with environmental air of low vapor pressure and low temperature. So the air up there has got to be cooling off and getting wet. Low pressure and low temperature. So the air is going to be full of water when it's at low vapor pressure, and it's going to be cool when it's at low temperature. And if you're looking at cool, cloudy weather coming the next day, guess what? You don't get contrails unless those conditions are already present. There's your puzzle. So it's correlation. Very strong correlation. And that's why today when it was warm out and the vapor pressure was probably pretty high, no contrails floating in our skies over Atlanta. We get we get weather for cirrus clouds, low vapor pressure and cooling temperatures. You will see them, and the reason you see them is temperatures are already cooling. Vapor pressure is just a fancy term for the amount of pressure that is exerted by vapor itself, as opposed to atmospheric or barometric pressure, which is due to the weight of the entire atmosphere above you. So when there's not a lot of water in the sky pressing down and it's cool outside, you will get that. This mixing occurs directly behind the plane due to the turbulence generated by the engine. If condensation, conversion from a gas to a liquid, occurs, then a contrail becomes visible. Since air temperatures at these high atmospheric levels are very cold, generally colder than minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit, only a small amount of liquid is necessary for condensation to occur. Water is a normal byproduct of construction in engines. Cloud formation is very similar to the process that occurs when you breathe on a cold winter day, and you see condensation from your own breath form a cloud. You may have noticed that on some days this cloud you produce lasts longer than on other days, where it quickly disappears. The length of time that a contrail lasts is directly proportional to the amount of humidity that is already in the atmosphere. So you have a cold, humid upper atmosphere when you see contrails, and the cold, humid weather follows. A drier atmosphere lives to more short-lived contrails, while an atmosphere that has more humidity lives to longer-lived contrails. So you're noticing a correlation, Amy. It's real, but because it's already cold and wet up there. However, if the atmosphere is too dry, no contrails will form. So when you're heading towards drier weather, you don't get contrails. Occasionally, a jet plane, especially if descending or ascending, will pass through a much drier or more moist layer of the atmosphere, which may result in a broken pattern contrail, which appears in segments rather than in a continuous plume. Contrails can be found over most of the planet. Now that jet plane traffic, both civilian and military, can be at any place over the globe at any time, contrails are becoming more and more common. This picture was taken by the NOAA 12 satellite, passed over portions of Europe in 1995. It is very obvious from this enhanced satellite image that the atmosphere was very conducive to the development of contrails on this day, and that these contrails were long-lived enough to accumulate in a crisscross pattern. Contrails have been recorded throughout the history of jet plane travel. Many reports exist from World War II of situations where the accumulations of contrails were so extensive that pilots were unable to keep visual contact with their neighbor or enemy planes during combat. If contrails persist for long enough period of time, say an hour or more, they can spread out across the sky due to prevailing winds at the level at which they are formed. The two figures show how contrails generated on a particular day spread out quickly. On days where the contrails appear quickly or don't even form, they can expect continuing good weather, while on days where they persist, a change in the weather pattern may be expected. So yes, this is known. You have to have a cold, wet upper atmosphere. Contrails are a concern to climate studies, as increased jet traffic may result in increased cloud cover. Several scientific studies are being conducted with respect to contrail formation and their climatic effects. Cirrus clouds affect Earth's climate by reflecting incoming sunlight and inhibiting heat loss from the surface of the planet. It has been estimated that certain heavy air traffic corridors' cloud cover could be increased by as much as 20%, since contrails can spread out and essentially become cirrus clouds. It is felt that contrails may affect the planetary climate in similar ways. Other studies are underway to better understand the role of jet exhaust plays in modifying the chemistry of the upper levels of the atmosphere. Thank you. I don't know what date this was written, but we can find out. Doesn't say. Interesting. Usually it does. Well, we kind of know. You need cold, moist weather. You need a cold, moist upper atmosphere, which is why you see clouds afterwards. So you are dealing with not causation, but correlation. People with good test scores live in certain zip codes. Gee, where that they are correlated. The zip code doesn't give you good test scores. That's an example. It means things go together, but are not necessarily caused. Now, I'd like to do the avgas part of this. And I'd like to do the aviation maps on a different night. So I'm going to put a hold on this video and come back inside. We've been on for almost 2 hours. And that's a long time to be on. Curtain, where's my curtain? There's my curtain. Okay. So what we want to do is come back here tomorrow night and do the avgas and the planes in West Texas. And I'll get you, and how to get the academic articles for you, Amy. See, I do things for people who don't even show up. There's a minister online. Her name is Amy Sieber. Whatever that is, I don't need it. Okay. And she is very concerned about contrails, and she lives and works in Lubbock, Texas. We have her a business address for her, which is fine. That gives us a rough idea. And I don't want this to sound backhanded, but everybody has a right to be concerned about air pollution. What's up there in the skies? That is we would say, culturally congruent, valid concern. And we took a look at contrails. Now, we've looked at contrails before on this stream. And I'm going to put a background on this. We don't usually do this, but we do it for these guys today. Let me get some more space here. And we're going to go get some links. And Amy, if you are watching this, making sure you are, Amy, if you are watching this, I have 2 links for you. And they're both good links. You'll have to copy and paste these anyway or photograph them. These are, the first one on the bottom leads to a video I made about 3 months ago on geoengineering. And what it talks about is what solar atmospheric modification, which is the kind of geoengineering you're discussing, is, how it's done, the literature that's been published on it, the scientific literature, to which you have some access because of where you live. And again, you may have a busy schedule, but you probably have better access than you think. And it talks about how it's done and where it's done and what it looks like. And I won't spoil it for you, but knowing what it actually is will show you what it's not. The other video, the one with the 0 after it that's on top, was an earlier video done this winter about what is in jet exhaust in some depth, because you do have a lot of jets flying over you. And this is very much a cause for concern. Now, I'm going to recap what we did in our last stream, because people catching this on demand or catching this live, I don't know if anybody's catching this live right now. This is what you get for not advertising and for sleeping because you've been out in the hot sun. And the cats attacked you with 2 hours sleep. And once they've attacked you, they've attacked you. And this is Emmanuel, my little boy kitty. He's my assistant. I don't know if you can see him on camera, but he's rocking the monitor at the moment because it's his little nuzzle pole. And he is is he purring? No, he's not. He's fixing a purr, as they say in Columbus, Georgia. Okay. What we learned in the last video is, and I'm going to put this up for everybody to see. I'm going to remember it. What we learned in the last video was that contrails happen when there is low vapor pressure in the atmosphere and low temperature, which means that the weather is already starting to cool off and grow humid. So if you're seeing storms after a contrail, you're dealing with correlation, not necessarily causation, or causation in the reverse way. Cooling weather, an increase in cooling and humidity causes contrails. Otherwise, you don't see them. They happen, but they don't form. They don't form on warm, dry days, on days when it's warmer and drier in the upper atmosphere, and that's relative. The upper atmosphere is pretty darn cold. The other thing so that's what we did. We also looked at particulate in jet exhaust. Particulate is little bits of soot. Some of them may be nano and micro size, but they're the little particles around which the contrail forms. Jet exhaust is incomplete combustion. Particulate, especially PM25, is very nasty. It is a pollutant. It doesn't have to be geoengineering to be nasty. Nasty, nasty. So, the next question we have is, where are all the contrails coming from? And that's not here on this, so I'm going to add it. That's not what I want. This is what I want. Now, I don't know if where you are, whether you've seen them, whether there are always a lot of them in the sky or whatever. You are, I would think, about 1.5 miles from an airport. Oh yes, you are. I'll show you that. Because I am going to use one of your work addresses. You put that out. Now, for those of you who don't know, this is Amy Siever talking about contrails. And again, I didn't set up, so all of you are going to have to be a bit patient with me. And this is her over here. And I'm going to max her out when I get a moment.
And it's not going to stop until
let me max her out. And this is Amy Siever. That is her Against Slavery medallion. She is very much a minister in Lubbock, Texas. Let's go, Amy.
cold weather tomorrow, and we woke up this morning and Steve took this video. What? So we will have cloudy, cold weather tomorrow, and the whole 9 yards. And I tell you, I put a Facebook post out. I said, how many of us, we the people, have had enough of this? So we just need to start flooding wherever you live, your congressman, because it's got to stop. And it's not going to stop until they just cannot stop the phone calls. So I'm asking you to get involved. I'm asking you to organize wherever you are. I put a meme out last week where there was I think it's in the UK, where they're organizing a Stop Geoengineering event locally. So we may be doing that. It's just time. We have
Now, I am for geoengineering. I think we need it. But what we saw was not geoengineering, as I said before. And we've done this on other videos, but again, Amy, if you're watching me, and you're gonna get both of these videos. These aren't geoengineering, but I am for geoengineering. Hopefully, other people with sense, I may have to write my congressman and tell him stay the course. Though we don't have that much of a movement here in Atlanta, as far as I know. But that's what she's worried about. So, when we looked at all those, the first question that came to mind tonight is, where are all those contrails coming from? Now, to have contrails, you are going to need hang in there, folks. You're going to need a plane. And you're going to need a bunch of them, which means you're going to need an You're going to need an airport for Mr. Plane to land in. This is a job for Google Maps or Bing Maps. First thing we want to do is get to Amy's part of Lubbock, Texas, and that is, I should be able to open this for everybody. Control O. And she put this in her video. It is a business address, 5109 82nd Street, Lubbock, Texas. So we know where that is. It is in the southeast. Interesting. 5109 82nd Street, Lubbock, Texas. There we are. Oops. Okay. And we can take this. This is where she is. Right along here. There, that's better. This is where she is, right here at Siddell Road at 82nd Street. And if you zoom out a little bit, down here we've got another 82nd Street. I don't know why you get two, but if you zoom out a little bit, you should get an airport. Directions from here to ClearTech Aviation at Lubbock Executive Air Park. And on foot, this is 8.5 miles. By car, it's 16 minutes. So about 8 miles from where she lives, from where she works, we have an airport. So you've got an airport right underneath you. Now, I'm going to take this all back down, and we're going to look at airports. Lubbock, Texas. And you will notice there are several of them. There is ClearTech Aviation right nearby. There's Breedlove Airport, historical landmark. There is Lubbock International Airport. This was the original airport. This is the one they built later out of town. There's Larry Neal Memorial Airport, Everett Airport. You got a lot of little airports right within like a 15 to 20 mile radius. And this is the biggest of the airports. This is Lubbock Preston Smith International Airport. And we can Google that. You can tell I've been here before, but that's okay. Here we are. And we can look at the arrivals and departures. And on a given day, there are 1, 2, 3. This is going to be for tomorrow. 1, 2. There's one coming in tonight that's was delayed, apparently. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You have 11 flights coming in, going out, and you have 11 flights coming out, going out, 11, 12 flights, 12 flights going out, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 coming in. So you have 20 flights a day, 12 out and 11 in, and most of them go to places in the West, Dallas, Denver, Houston, Austin. Here we have one going to Phoenix. If you want to go to, say, New York or Paris, you're going to transfer. This is a hub and spoke system, and we're out on a spoke. And don't tell me this is flyover country. I used to live in flyover country. I can say it. So yes, they have jet service. Now, I'm going to go back home again right quick. If you look carefully, you'll see there's a lot of things about drones here and travelers and visitors. You'll see they have a little place where you pick up your luggage. They have a few restaurants. They have a gift shop. They're very proud of what they have. And if you go over here, they have a whole history. It's all pretty nice. If we look at airport community, they're going to talk about, all the stuff they have. Plus, they're going to be talking a lot about airport operations. And you're going to see they do training, and they do other things. And a lot of what an airport like this does is something called general aviation, which is not the big commercial jets. A lot of it's corporate jets. I've flown on corporate jets because I made a not so popular flight to Islip, Long Island. Or I made a flight from Syracuse to New York. Syracuse to New York City, you're on that size of plane. They can put you on a little plane or even a prop to get you a short distance, like 100 miles, and then they'll put you on a bigger plane. So yeah, and I've been on regional jets that are smallish, and I've been on prop planes that are commercial prop planes, like an Embraer. That's a prop plane. I'm not an aviation geek by any means. But this is what they have. And somewhere here they have general aviation. I don't really see it here, but they had it. Airlines information, and here we have home. And when you get home, it's going to talk about, they have a whole drone thing going on. Lots going on at the airport. But that's not your only airport. So, we have another airport, and that is down here. ClearTech Aviation at Lubbock Executive Air Park. Now, this is a slow link, I'm going to warn you. We did this on walkthrough. And it's full service. And this is the Executive Air Park. What this means is they do executive jets. There's nobody flying. This is an executive jet. It's small. If you have a very localish flight, you'll fly on something this size. And this tells you, the kinds of things you'd want to know if you were a pilot. And it will tell you where it's located. It will tell you latitude and longitude, and it will show you the kinds of planes that fly there. This is a prop plane. It's open to the public. It does not have a control tower. The nearest one they deal with is Fort Worth Center. They have some kind of radio stuff. Somebody is always there should something happen. There's no segmented circle. They're missing some of the radio stuff. They have lights and they have a beacon. So you can do visual navigation to get in, and you can do radio navigation to get in. And there are two runway. There's one runway. It's in good condition. This tells you how much weight it will bear. There's two runways. 17 and 35. These are the edge lights. They only have two runways here. Here's another runway. Third runway. And they land on grass here, turf in fair condition. What's this telling you? And facilities and amenities. It's got a place where you can meet people. There's the little airport right there. And they sell aviation fuel here. Okay. This is your other airport. And there's several other small airports around this city. Now, that isn't going to tell you much. We'll be back to these guys in a minute. What this is going to tell you, and they've remodeled quite a bit, can't you tell? This is another one, another airport nearby. Yep, just some grass. Do they have a website? They don't, but they have one here. This is publicly run, it's not a private airport. Texas Air Museum. Other displays. I guess they don't have a web page for that airport. So what we probably want to do is find out what's flying over your city. Thank you so much for watching. And don't forget, you can catch me live on Twitch.